Ladies and gentlemen, let's cut through the pleasantries and get right to it. Our public school systems and universities, once institutions of learning and critical thinking, have become breeding grounds for radicalization. Instead of fostering curiosity, creativity, and respect for differing viewpoints, they now manufacture hate. Hate for those who dare to be different, hate for those who don't fit a minority label, and even worse, hate for the very values and freedoms that make this country great. These institutions claim to stand for diversity and inclusion. But let me tell you something, there is no group more intolerant than those who preach tolerance the loudest. The modern left has weaponized diversity to mean conformity, and inclusion to mean exclusion of anyone who doesn't fit their narrative. If you don't think the way they think, speak the way they speak, or live the way they tell you to live, you're branded as an enemy, a bigot, or worse. And what's the goal of this radical agenda? It's simple: to make men weak and compliant, to dismantle the family structure, and to strip away the rights that protect us from tyranny. First, let's talk about men. The left has an agenda, and at the center of it is the destruction of masculinity. They call it toxic masculinity, but what they really mean is strength, independence, and the ability to stand up for yourself and your family. They shame young boys for being boys, discouraging competition, drive, and assertiveness. They tell men to apologize for existing, to step aside, and to bow to a narrative that glorifies victimhood over responsibility. A society without strong men is a society that cannot defend itself. Weak men are compliant men, and compliant men don't question authority. That's exactly what they want, a generation of docile, directionless individuals who are easier to control. But it doesn't stop with men. They're also going after the family. The left has worked tirelessly to remove the father from the household, replacing him with welfare government programs and social engineering. Look at the statistics. Families without fathers are more likely to experience poverty, crime, and dysfunction. But do you hear anyone in the media or on university campuses talking about that? Of course not, because strong families produce independent, self-reliant people who don't need to rely on the government to survive. They don't want strong families. They want broken homes and broken people, dependent on the system for everything. Because dependency is the greatest tool for control. And while they weaken men and dismantle families, they're simultaneously neutralizing the rights that protect us. They're coming for the First Amendment, your right to speak your mind. Have you noticed how dissenting opinions are no longer debated but cancelled? Speak up against their agenda, and you'll find yourself silenced, deplatformed, or worse. And then there's the Second Amendment. Let's be clear, the Second Amendment isn't just about guns, it's about freedom. An armed populace is a populace that cannot be easily oppressed. They know this, which is why they work so hard to convince you that the right to defend yourself is outdated, dangerous, or unnecessary. But ask yourself this: why would anyone who claims to care about your safety want to take away your ability to protect yourself and your family? Yet, they glorify Luigi for his atrocious actions. Funny how that comes from the same people who want gun control. The left loves to preach about love, tolerance, and inclusion, but their actions tell a different story. They've created a culture where hate is not only accepted but encouraged, as long as it's directed at the right targets. They tell students to hate those who are different, but in their eyes, different means anyone who believes in traditional values, who doesn't apologize for being successful, or who dares to question their ideology, who follows any type of Christian faith. They glorify violence and nonsense, turning protests into riots and debates into witch hunts. They push absurd ideas that defy logic and biology, and then they shame you for refusing to embrace their delusions. This isn't progress, it's chaos. So what do? How do we fight back against a system that's radicalizing our children, destroying our families, and stripping away our freedoms? We start by speaking the truth, loudly and unapologetically. We stop apologizing for being who we are, for believing in strength, independence, and responsibility. We take back our schools, and if that doesn't work, we take our children out of those places and homeschool them. When there's nowhere to feed, these parasites will go away. We demand that education return to its purpose, teaching facts, not indoctrinating ideology. If they don't comply, we stop giving them our time and our money. We rebuild our families, strengthen our communities, and refuse to be divided by the hate and lies they sell us. And most importantly, we protect our rights, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, and every freedom that makes this country worth fighting for. Ladies and gentlemen, the time for silence is over. The future of our children, our families, and our nation is at stake. It's time to wake up, stand up, and fight back. Because if we don't, who will? Thank you.